year 788, an 8-year-old boy walked away from his mother, knowing he would never see her again. He had convinced her to let him become a monk by faking his own drowning. Today, you are scrolling through your phone at 3 in the morning, convinced that you are the sum total of your notifications, your job title, your relationship status, and the number of people who liked your last post. What if I told you that both of these stories are about the same problem, the lie that you are real? His name was Adi Shankara, and in his 32 years of life, he walked across the entire Indian subcontinent barefoot, debated the greatest scholars of his time into silence, wrote commentaries that are still studied today, and built an intellectual framework so powerful that it resurrected a dying religion. But here is what nobody tells you. He did all of this because he believed that you, me, and everything we think we know, including our suffering, is a cosmic hallucination. And the most disturbing part is that he might have been right. By the end of this video, you will understand why Shankara thought that your anxiety, your burnout, and your endless search for meaning are not problems to solve but clues to a deeper truth. You will know why he believed that the self you defend so desperately does not actually exist. And you will learn why his solution to suffering was not to fight it or escape it, but to see through it completely. This is not philosophy as decoration. This is philosophy as demolition. Shankara was born in a small village called Kaladi in what is now Kerala, India. His father died when he was very young, leaving him and his mother alone. In that time and place, this was not just sad. It was dangerous. Without a male protector, they had no social standing, no financial security, no future. His mother wanted him to marry, to continue the family line, to give her grandchildren. This was the script. This was survival. But Shankara wanted to renounce the world. He wanted to become a sannyasi, a wandering monk who owns nothing, who has no home, no family, no identity. In traditional Hindu society, this was not something you did as a child. You were supposed to live as a householder first, fulfill your duties, raise children, and only then, in old age, could you walk away. Shankara wanted to skip all of that. His mother refused. So one day, while bathing in the river, he screamed. He told his mother a crocodile had grabbed his leg and was dragging him under. He said he was about to die, and in that moment he begged her, "Let me die as a monk. Let me take vows right now so I can at least have that." She agreed. The crocodile, of course, did not exist. He had lied to his own mother, using her love and terror to get what he wanted. And then he left. He walked away from the only person who loved him alone, to wander India in search of a teacher. This is not a hero origin story. This is a wound. Shankara grew up watching his mother grieve his father, watching her lose her place in the world, watching her cling to him as her last hope. And he chose philosophy over her. He chose an idea over a human being. You can call that devotion. You can call that clarity. But you can also call it what it was, a young boy so disturbed by the fragility of life, by the inevitability of loss, that he decided the only solution was to prove that life itself was not real. Because that is what Shankara set out to do. He walked for months until he found Govinda Bhagavatpada, a master of Advaita Vedanta, the philosophy of non-dualism. And Govinda asked him one question, "Who are you?" Shankara did not say his name. He did not say he was a Brahman or a son or a student. He said something else, something that would become the foundation of everything he taught. He said, "I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the senses. I am not the emotions. I am not the thoughts. I am the witness. I am the consciousness that observes all of this. I am Brahman, the infinite, the unchanging, the only thing that is real." Govinda accepted him, and for the next several years, Shankara studied the Upanishads, the ancient texts that form the philosophical core of Hinduism. But he did not just study them, he tore them apart. He rebuilt them, he turned them into a weapon, because by the time Shankara was alive, Hinduism was dying. Buddhism and Jainism had taken over, the old Vedic rituals felt empty, people were lost, and Shankara walked into that chaos with a single terrifying idea. Everything you think is real is not. The world is Maya, illusion, and you are not who you think you are. Let me explain what he actually meant, because this is where it gets strange. Shankara did not say the world does not exist. He said it exists, but not in the way you think. He used the metaphor of a rope and a snake. You are walking at dusk. You see a rope on the ground, but in the dim light you think it is a snake. Your heart races, you panic. You suffer, but the snake was never there. The suffering was real, the fear was real, but the cause, the snake, was a misperception. That is Maya. That is what Shankara thought reality was. A misperception so convincing that we build our entire lives around it. Now apply that to your life. You think you are your job. You think you are your relationship. You think you are your body, your achievements, your failures, your Instagram grid. And when those things fall apart, you fall apart. But Shankara would say, you were never those things. You are the awareness that experiences those things. You are the space in which all of this appears. And that awareness, that consciousness is infinite. It does not come and go. It does not succeed or fail. It does not age. It does not die. It is Brahman. It is the only thing that is real. Everything else, including the separate self you call I, is Maya. This is not comforting. This is not a motivational poster. This is a philosophical grenade, because if Shankara is right, then your suffering is not a problem to solve. It is a case of mistaken identity. You are suffering because you think you are a character in the story, when really, you are the page the story is written on. You think you are the wave, panicking about crashing into the shore, but you are the ocean. You were always the ocean. Here is where this gets practical. You are burned out. You have worked yourself into the ground trying to prove that you matter, that you are enough, that you are real. But every achievement evaporates. Every milestone becomes the baseline. You are constantly chasing the next thing because you have tied your sense of self to outcomes. Shankara would say, stop trying to become something. You already are everything. The exhaustion is not because you are failing. It is because you are trying to turn the infinite into something finite. You are trying to turn consciousness into a resume. Or you are anxious. You are scrolling, comparing, catastrophizing. You are convinced that if you do not control every variable, something terrible will happen. But what is the you that is afraid? Shankara would ask. Who is anxious? Not the body. The body is just sensations. Not the thoughts. Thoughts come and go. So what is left? The awareness of the anxiety, and that awareness is not anxious. It is calm, it is untouchable, it is what you actually are. The anxiety is the snake, the awareness is the rope. Or you just went through a breakup. You feel like a part of you has been ripped away. You cannot imagine who you are without this person. Shankara would say, good. Now you have a chance to see that you were never that relationship. You are not half of a whole. You are not incomplete. You are the consciousness in which the relationship appeared and disappeared. And that consciousness is still here. It was here before. It will be hereafter. You have not lost yourself. You have lost an illusion. This is the dangerous idea. This is what Shankara spent his life teaching. He debated scholars across India, defeating them so thoroughly that entire schools of thought collapsed. He wrote commentaries on the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Brahma Sutras, texts that are still the foundation of Hindu philosophy today. He established 4 mathas, monasteries in the 4 corners of India, to preserve and spread his teachings. He did all of this before he was 33 years old, and then he died. Nobody knows exactly how. Some say he walked into a cave in the Himalayas and never came out. Some say he died of illness. Some say he simply dissolved, because he had realized so completely that he was not the body that the body had nothing left to do. But here is what we do know. He was exhausted. He had walked tens of thousands of miles. He had debated for years. He had written thousands of verses. He had given everything to the idea that nothing is real. And this is the cost, because if you take Shankara too literally, you end up with a problem. If the world is illusion, why do anything? If the self does not exist, why care? Why build? Why love? Why suffer? Why try? Shankara's answer was that you act, not because the world is real, but because you are still in the illusion. You are still perceiving the snake, and until you fully realize that it is a rope, you have to navigate the dream as if it matters. You do your duty, you help others, you live ethically, not because it will save you, but because it will prepare you for the moment when you finally wake up. But not everyone can hold that balance. Some of his critics then and now say that Advaita Vedanta leads to nihilism. If nothing matters, why not just check out? Why not abandon responsibility? And this is a real danger. You can use this philosophy as an excuse. You can say, my anxiety is not real, so I will ignore it. My relationships are not real, so I will neglect them. My responsibilities are not real, so I will escape. But that is not what Shankara taught. He taught that the illusion is still happening, and in the illusion, choices have consequences. Suffering is still felt. Love is still experienced. You do not transcend the dream by pretending it is not there. You transcend it by seeing it so clearly that it loses its grip on you. And this is where his philosophy becomes useful, not as an escape, but as a practice. Because Shankara did not just leave you with theory. He gave you a method. It is called Atma Vichara, self-inquiry, and it is simple. Whenever you are suffering, ask yourself, who is suffering? Not what is the problem, not how do I fix it, but who is the I that is experiencing this, and keep asking until you cannot find an answer. Because you will not find one, you will find thoughts, you will find sensations, you will find stories, but you will not find a solid, separate self. And in that absence, you will find freedom. Here is an experiment. The next time you are anxious, do not try to fix it. Do not distract yourself. Do not rationalize it. Just sit with it and ask, who is anxious? Is it your body? No, because you can observe your body. Is it your thoughts? No, because you can observe your thoughts. Is it your emotions? No, because you can observe your emotions. So what is left? The observer, the awareness, the space in which all of this is happening, and notice that space is not anxious. It is just watching, it is calm, it is still, it is what you actually are. Or try this. For 1 week, every time you say I, pause. What are you referring to? Are you your job? Your name, your history, your plans. Notice how slippery the I is. Notice how it changes depending on context. And notice the part of you that is noticing. That part does not change. That part is always here. That is what Shankara called the self with a capital. Not the small self, the ego, the personality, but the infinite awareness that is the same in every being. That is Brahman, that is what you are, or try this. When you are doom-scrolling, when you are comparing yourself to others, when you are feeling less than, ask, who is feeling less than? What is the self that is inadequate? And you will realize there is no self. There is just a story. A story that says you are supposed to be a certain way, achieve certain things, become a certain person. But that story is not you. It is just content appearing in consciousness. And consciousness does not need to achieve anything. It is already complete. This is not positive thinking. This is not manifestation. This is not telling yourself you are enough until you believe it. This is something more radical. This is seeing that the you who doubts whether you are enough does not actually exist. It is a thought, a pattern, a habit. And when you see it clearly, it dissolves, not because you fought it, but because you saw through it. Shankara called this jnana, knowledge, but it is not intellectual knowledge. It is direct realization. It is the moment when the rope stops looking like a snake, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You still navigate the world, you still work, love, suffer, laugh, but you are no longer trapped by it. You are no longer defending a self that does not exist. You are free, but here is the catch. This freedom comes at a cost. Because once you realize that the self is an illusion, you cannot go back to living as if it is real. You cannot pretend that your identity matters in the way you used to think it did. You cannot take your ego seriously. And this can be isolating, because most people are still fighting for their identity. They are still defending their story. And if you are not, you become incomprehensible to them. You become a stranger. This is what happened to Shankara. He walked away from his mother. He spent his life debating people who wanted to destroy him. He lived on the road, owning nothing, belonging nowhere. He had followers, yes. He had influence, yes. But he was alone, because the realization he had, the realization he tried to give to others, is inherently solitary. It is the realization that you are not a person. You are the awareness in which persons appear, and that awareness is always alone because it is everything. So the question is, do you want this? Do you want to see through the illusion? Because once you do, there is no going back. You cannot unknow what you know. You cannot return to the innocence of believing that you are the character in the story. You will still play the character, you will still have a name, a job, a life, but you will know it is a role. You will know it is a costume, and that knowledge will free you, but it will also separate you. Shankara knew this. He knew the price, and he paid it. He gave up his family, his home, his identity. He walked until his body gave out. He taught until there was nothing left to teach, and then he disappeared, not because he was defeated, but because he was done. He had given the world a map that says, you are not lost. You were never lost. You are the space in which lost and found appear. You are the ground. You are the source. You are what remains when everything else is stripped away. And maybe that is what you need to hear right now. Not that you need to fix yourself. Not that you need to become better, stronger, more successful. But that the you who needs to be fixed does not exist. It is a thought, a story, a wave that thinks it is separate from the ocean. And the moment you see that, the moment you really see it, the suffering stops. Not because the wave stops crashing, but because you realize you were never the wave. You were always the ocean. This is what Shankara broke, not reality, but the illusion that you were ever separate from it. The illusion that you were ever anything other than the infinite, unchanging, eternal awareness that is the substance of everything. He called it Brahman. You can call it consciousness. You can call it the self. You can call it God. The name does not matter. What matters is that you see it. What matters is that you stop defending a ghost and start living as what you actually are. So here is the final experiment. For the next 7 days, whenever you suffer, do not try to fix it. Just ask, who is suffering? And keep asking until you cannot find an answer. And in that moment, when you realize there is no one there, when you realize it is just sensations and thoughts and stories appearing in empty space, you will understand what Shankara spent his life trying to show you. You are not the problem. You are not the solution. You are the space in which problems and solutions appear. And that space is free. It was always free. It will always be free. Adi Shankara walked across India barefoot to tell you this. He debated scholars into silence to tell you this. He wrote thousands of verses to tell you this. He gave up everything to tell you this. And what he said was simple. You are not who you think you are. You are so much more. You are infinite. You are eternal. You are unbreakable. Not because you achieve something, but because you are the awareness in which achievement and failure appear. You are the ocean pretending to be a wave. And the moment you stop pretending, you will know what he knew. You will know what every mystic, every sage, every person who has ever looked deeply enough has known. You are not in reality. Reality is in you. You are not broken. Reality is broken, and you are what remains.